Revealed, how a little girl's touching whisper changed the life of a heartwarming mail-order bride. Clara's heart raced as she stepped off the bus, clutching a faded suitcase and her dreams tightly. A gaping town square welcomed her, borders lined with weathered buildings and weary faces. Cedar Grove was a small Midwestern town, wrestling with the weight of economic strain and a community that felt more like a ghost town. But in her mid-30s, with hope shimmering like a flickering candle, Clara arrived determined to start anew. Shifting her gaze, she felt the quiet stares from townsfolk, whispers of suspicion hanging in the air, as if she were a puzzle they didn't want to solve. Her new job at the local diner came with grease-stained uniforms and endless coffee refills. She worked tirelessly, anticipating smiles and warmth from customers, but what she found instead was a sea of familiar faces that saw her as an outsider. Each day turned into a monotonous blur, the roar of the diner drowning beneath an ocean of isolation. The clatter of silverware filled the void where friendship could have blossomed, and Clara often caught herself stealing glances at laughter circling around her, feeling like a stranger in their world. And then, there was Lucy, a bright-eyed 7-year-old who lived right next door. Lately, Lucy had been feeling the sting of loneliness since her friend had moved away. Watching Clara return home from long shifts, her heart yearned for connection. One sunny afternoon, the air thick with possibilities, Lucy ran across the yard, arms wide open. "You must be the most beautiful person in the world," she breathed, her simple words landing like sweet music upon Clara's ears. In that moment, everything shifted. Clara's gnarled chest, heavy with fear and doubt, suddenly felt lighter. Her heart swelled, warmth blossoming where there had only been frost. No one had seen her as anything but a stranger before. This little girl, with a fearless smile and an innocent spirit, dared to see deeper. As days passed, an unexpected friendship blossomed between Lucy and Clara, a beautiful blend of courage and hope. Lucy brought light and laughter into Clara's life, becoming her oasis in a desert of isolation. However, the bond wasn't welcomed by all. Whispers grew louder, fading smiles turned into stared daggers. The townsfolk began to murmur about family values, about trust, poking at old wounds even Clara hadn't known existed. Then came the announcement for a public town meeting. Tension hung heavy in the air, like storm clouds ripe with rain. Clara, heart racing, felt the looming dread overshadow her fragile hope. She stood at a crossroads, torn between her dreams of acceptance and the harsh reality of prejudice. And as the day approached, uncertainty hovered over her as thick as the trees surrounding Cedar Grove. Just as despair seemed to threaten her dreams, Lucy, with a bravery that only a child could muster, decided to speak at the meeting. "Clara is my friend. And friendship is what matters most." Her declaration rang out, scattering the whispers like feathers in the wind. Clara's heart thudded at the enormity of Lucy's sweet resolve, but was it enough to challenge a community steeped in suspicion? As Clara braced herself, her mind buzzed with hope and fear, she felt the weight of countless gazes pinning her in place. At that moment, everything seemed to rest on a fragile balance. Could love and understanding rise above the sea of prejudice? The answer loomed near, and as Clara faced the storm within Cedar Grove, the flicker of hope she had clung to now crackled with urgency. The town hall stood like a sentinel, its wooden frame weathered and gray, reflecting the weight of the moment. Clara stepped inside, heart pounding like a drum. The chilly air buzzed with murmurs and uneasy glances as townspeople gathered, filling the space with a mixture of curiosity and judgment. Clara clutched Lucy's small hand, grounding herself in the warmth of the child's innocent belief. Seating herself at the edge of the crowd, Clara felt the distance between her and the thrumming heart of Cedar Grove, a rift that seemed almost impossible to bridge. With every creak of the floorboards, her resolve wavered, drowning in a sea of uncertainty. Lucy squeezed her hand tighter, eyes wide with the trusting confidence of youth. At that moment, Clara remembered the softness of the girl's words, "You must be the most beautiful person in the world." And how they had lit a spark in her that had long been extinguished. When the town's mayor called for order, Clara's stomach twisted. Names were read, and topics discussed with urgency. It soon became apparent that Clara's presence had become a topic of contention. Emotions ran high as a few town members stood to voice their concerns about her character. She's an outsider, one woman snapped. What do we really know about her? Clara's heart sank further with each wary glance. The old fears crept back in, the insecurities she thought she'd shaken off returned. Would she always drift like a ghost in this town? Suddenly, Lucy raised her hand, the small figure of courage illuminating the hall. I want to talk. She challenged, her voice cutting through the confusion like a knife. Clara could hardly breathe as the room turned to her, wide-eyed and expectant. Lucy, sweetie, Clara started, panic rising in her throat, but Lucy shook her head, bright determination in her eyes. No, Clara. You can't talk yet. She turned to the gathered crowd, stepping forward with tiny but firm strides. Clara is my friend. And friendship is what matters most. She always helps me with my homework and laughs with me when I'm sad. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Clara's heart swelled with a mix of pride and dread. Lucy's words wrapped around her like a safety net. Could such a simple declaration really shift perceptions? She listens to me and believes in my dreams. Just because she's new doesn't mean she's bad. She copies my drawings and sings lullabies to me. The tension was palpable. Clara felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. In that moment, she couldn't distinguish between fear and gratitude. It hurt, yet it also filled her with an overwhelming sense of love. The clutches of loneliness seemed to loosen around her heart, that a hushed silence fell as more townsfolk found their voices. You can't trust her, began one. But another countered, didn't Lucy say she helps her? The conflict swirled like a tempest, hearts divided in uncertainty. Lucy stood firm, the embodiment of innocence and bravery. Clara may be different, but she's my friend. Isn't that enough? The community shifted. Doubt lingered like a shadow, but curiosity ignited a flicker of hope. Clara felt the air thicken with possibility, her heart raced at the thought of being accepted, yet she couldn't shake off the fear that it was too fragile, too new. But as Lucy's words continued to echo around the room, Clara understood one truth: the bond they shared was powerful. What would happen next depended not only on love but on the courage of a community to listen. Would they embrace this connection, or would it fade into whispers again? With a single gaze exchanged between them, Clara and Lucy awaited the crowd's response, a hope-fueled prayer hanging in the air. The moment seemed to stretch forever. Then, just as the mayor opened his mouth to speak again, a new voice, aged and tired, emerged from the crowd. But what if? Clara held her breath, heart pounding, ready for whatever came next. The crowd turned, every head swiveling toward the source of the voice. A gray-haired man, his face etched with lines of experience, stood tall despite his frail frame. His brow was furrowed, eyes piercing through the murmur. Clara's heart pounded against her ribs, both a plea and a prayer echoing through her mind. What would come next? What if Clara is more than just an outsider? What if we've mistaken her for a shadow when she might be our light? His voice wavered but rose above the rest, compelling the audience's attention. There was a stillness in the room as the man paused, gathering his thoughts. Clara noticed the way the townspeople leaned in, curiosity mingling with their skepticism. Could he open their hearts, too? My name is Mr. Finch, he went on, hands clasped tightly, and I've seen how quickly people can turn away from what they don't understand. I was once an outsider too, long ago. I came here broken and afraid, just like Clara. It took time for me to earn their trust, but I did. You see, sometimes we need to step back and listen to the quiet voices of those around us. Now look at the girl. He gestured toward Lucy, who stood still and steadfast, her small figure radiant in the oppressive room. She sees beauty where we see only fear. What a gift to have someone like Clara in our community to teach us love and acceptance. Lucy believes in her. Isn't that worth something? Clara felt tears gather in her eyes, her heart swelling with gratitude for both Lucy's brave words and Mr. Finch's defense. Could this really be happening? Did they finally see her? The tension in the room shifted, sparking whispers amongst the crowd. Then someone in the back muttered, but we don't know her. Exactly. Mr. Finch replied, raising his voice slightly. So let us get to know her. Let us allow her to be a part of our lives. Trust cannot be forged by sitting apart but by reaching out. Lucy's light may just be what we need to illuminate our path forward. There was a stirring now, a ripple of change beneath the surface of the gathering. Clara leaned in closer, wishfully hoping that the town's heart could beat a little easier. Yes. A voice from the corner shouted, "What do you say, Cedar Grove? Wouldn't it be worth it to give her a chance?" Others began to murmur agreement, their expressions shifting from suspicion to contemplation. Clara's heart raced. Yet, even in that moment of potential shift, a burly figure pushed through the crowd, a challenge in the squared shoulders and tight jaw. "I say it's not that easy, Finch. We can't just overlook what we don't know, or who she is. There are rules." The room grew tighter, a storm brewing. Clara felt all her hope hanging by a thread. Mr. Finch stood, unwavering. "She's an opportunity, not a threat. Let's not let fear guide us." The murmurs grew. Some clapped, others grimaced. Clara understood, this wasn't just about her, it was about the very fabric of this community and the complexity of human connection. "Clara," Lucy whispered, her voice a tether pulling Clara back to the moment. "You're not just an outsider. You're my friend." Clara caught Lucy's gaze, the unwavering faith shining brightly against the uncertainty that surrounded them, and the intensity of the moment settled in. What would happen next? Would they find a way to blend their fears and doubts into something beautiful? Or would the simplicity of friendship falter under the weight of suspicion? The mayor opened his mouth again, and the air was electric. Clara braced herself, knowing that at this moment, everything could change. And then, anxiously, the crowd went silent, hanging on the precipice of his words. What would he say? How would the town choose to define itself in this moment? The mayor cleared his throat, the tension palpable. Clara could feel every heartbeat thrumming in her ears as she awaited his words. "As your mayor, I cannot take this lightly," he began, voice steady, but there was a quiver beneath the surface, a hint of the weight he felt. "Trust is built slowly, and while I admire the courage you all have for supporting Clara, we must do this right." A sigh echoed from the crowd, a collective tension relaxing just a notch. Clara dared to hope as she caught a glimpse of Mr. Finch, his gaze unwavering, still fighting the good fight for her. "I propose we allow Clara to stay with us for a trial period. Get to know her, give her a chance to show us who she truly is," the mayor continued, looking into the eyes of those gathered. "But we must also keep our eyes wide open. If trouble arises, we must be ready to protect our home." A gasp resonated from the back, and Clara felt the weight of doubt shift. But she couldn't let fear win. "I won't cause trouble," she called out, her voice strong enough to surprise even herself. "I just want to help. I want to be a part of this place, just like you." Mr. Finch's face beamed with pride, as Clara felt a rush of energy fill the room. She could see the faces of neighbors, one by one starting to soften. Some exchanged glances, nodding slightly as if she had reminded them of something buried deep within their hearts. Lucy stepped forward, her small stature amplified by the confidence radiating from her. "Clara is the best artist I've ever met. She can teach us so much," she offered, her voice ringing clear like a bell. Clara blinked back tears. Lucy's unwavering faith was pushing against the walls of fear that seemed ancient and immovable. Another voice piped up, a young woman, perhaps in her 20s. "And if Clara's got talent, can't we benefit from it? Think of the murals, the stories she could tell us." Her enthusiasm lit a spark among the crowd, and a few others began to echo in agreement. Their voices merged into a chorus of possibilities. Even the burly figure from earlier had to concede something to this new energy brewing. "Maybe," he grumbled. "But it won't be easy. It takes time to build trust." As he spoke, Clara could feel his defensiveness soften, perhaps, even he was starting to crack. Mr. Finch stepped forward again, his voice firm and gentle. "Trust can take time, yes, but but it can also be nurtured in moments like this one. Tonight, let us extend a hand to Clara, and embrace the opportunity to see what we can create together. A ripple of murmurs swept through the room, growing louder with each passing moment. Clara's pulse quickened. This felt monumental. The mayor raised his hand for silence again, speaking more softly now. If we invest in this young artist, we may just find she can bridge the gap of understanding between us. I say let us give Clara that chance. A murmur of agreement buzzed through the crowd, gaining traction, rising to a wave of enthusiasm. Clara could barely breathe, her heart soaring. She felt hope spread inside her like wildfire. And if she fails? Another voice shot back, a note of skepticism piercing through the hopeful atmosphere. The atmosphere stilled again, uncertainty creeping back. Clara's heart sank momentarily. But she remembered Lucy's words and Mr. Finch's confidence. If I fail, she interjected, then you can let me go. But if you give me a chance, she paused, thinking of everything she wanted to be. I might just surprise you. The air shifted as the mayor looked back to the crowd, and Clara felt the weight of their gazes. This could really be her moment. Would they choose to accept her fully, or would the fear win out? The pause stretched long into the evening silence, and the next decision hung like a pendulum, swinging between fear and faith. After a beat that felt like eternities, the mayor inclined his head, a small, hesitant smile creeping onto his face. We will vote on this tonight, he declared, the tone in his voice inviting hope back into the room. Clara felt a rush of adrenaline wash over her, the trajectory of her life about to pivot sharply in one direction or another. Would they vote to let her stay, to believe in her? Or had she just heard the final chime of opportunity? As whispers ebbed and flowed, she held her breath, waiting for the mayor to call for the vote, preparing to step into an unknown future. It was now or never. Would the town take a chance on her? And would she have the strength to become the light Mr. Finch believed her to be, or would she fade into the shadows once more? The answer was just a heartbeat away. Clara's heart raced. The mayor's words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. She tried to gauge the expressions on the faces around her. A mixture of hope, doubt, and thoughtful consideration all mingled together. Each passing moment felt like an eternity. The mayor cleared his throat, signaling to the crowd, "All right, we'll begin the vote." By a show of hands, those in favor of giving Clara a chance to stay. He paused deliberately, watching as many raised their hands slowly, as if unsure of the weight of their decisions. Clara nearly gasped when she noticed how many hands went up. There was a swell of warmth surging through her, yet another part of her couldn't shake the fear that this wave of support might crash just as abruptly. Would it be enough? The mayor continued, and those opposed. A few hands went up, but not nearly as many. Clara's stomach twisted with anxiety. Despite the encouraging response, the voices of opposition echoed loudly, and she could feel that lingering doubt pooling around her like fog. "Clara, tell us what you plan to do," Mr. Finch urged gently, his eyes full of encouragement. I want to paint murals," she began, trying to find her footing among so many hopeful faces. "Murals that tell the story of this town. I want to contribute somehow, bring color and community, show you all that I respect your home." The young woman who had spoken earlier raised her hand again. Imagine children learning about their own history through Clara's art. The murals could breathe life into everything we do. They could be a reminder of who we are. Her enthusiasm was infectious, igniting smiles in the crowd. "Exactly." Clara's voice rose with excitement. "They could unite us. Cover these walls with our stories, the struggles we've faced, the joy we share. We can make this place even more beautiful." As her words hung in the air, she noticed little Lucy nodding vigorously in agreement. The girl's face radiated pride, her small hand grasping at the air as if she needed to help lift Clara's dreams higher. Clara's courage grew as she spoke, tapping into something deep inside her. "I have so much to offer if you let me, not just art, but my heart and dedication. It's what I can promise." A heavy silence settled again, but this time it felt different. Clara watched as the faces around her connected with her message. Could they really believe in her? The mayor glanced over the raised hands, mustering the courage to voice the final decision. It stands clear allowing Clara a trial period has the support of the community. I declare the motion passed. A storm of claps erupted, shouts of celebration mixed with cheers. Clara's breath caught in her throat. She was overwhelmed. A wave of relief washed over her but was swiftly replaced with a sense of responsibility. Tears pricked at her eyes. This wasn't just a victory, it was a second chance, a new beginning, a thread in the tapestry of her new life. Yet a nagging question churned in her mind. Would she truly live up to the potential they all saw in her? Could she navigate the complexities of their histories and fears? Would her creativity actually bridge the gap between their hearts? As Clara wiped a tear from her cheek, the mayor's voice cut through her thoughts. Now comes the hard part, Clara. We'll need to work through the coming weeks together. There will be obstacles, and we must all commit to this journey. Clara nodded earnestly, so grateful for their faith but nervous of the hurdles ahead. Just as she thought about how she would embrace every moment, a whisper of doubt began to rear its head. As the crowd celebrated, Clara turned to look at Mr. Finch. What if I let them down? She whispered, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her features. He smiled knowingly, then we all rise together again. That's what community is about. The warmth of his words filled her with newfound hope, but another thought lingered, what if she couldn't rise like they believed she could? With the faces of those who had chosen to believe in her flickering with excitement and encouragement around her, Clara felt a fire igniting in her chest. She knew she would have to navigate her own shadows to find the light they all saw. But as she stepped into the first steps of her new beginning, she also knew the journey ahead would test her in unexpected ways, and the weight of their expectations might just crush her if she faltered. Could she truly become the artist, the friend, and the community member they all hoped for? The first hurdle lay just ahead. What if everything she envisioned began to unravel just as fast as it had bloomed? Clara stood in the middle of the gathering, a whirlwind of emotions flooding her. The applause echoed around her, almost drowning out the sound of her own heartbeat. She had won this moment, but the future loomed like a shadow. The people of Creekwood had placed their faith in her. Was she ready to shoulder the weight of their hopes? As the crowd began to disperse, Clara felt a gentle tug on her skirt. She looked down to find little Lucy, her eyes shining with admiration. Are you really going to paint the walls? She asked, her voice full of joy. Yes, Lucy, Clara smiled, kneeling to meet the girl's gaze. I'm really going to paint them. What if it's not pretty? The little girl asked, biting her lip. Clara's heart sank for a moment. What if it wasn't pretty? What if it didn't resonate with the town the way she hoped? But she laid a hand on Lucy's cheek, forcing her own worries away. What matters is that we try together. Art will always be beautiful when it makes us feel something. Lucy nodded, her face brightening. I can help. I can bring you brushes. Her enthusiasm made Clara's heart flutter. I would love that. You can be my assistant. Mr. Finch approached, his eyes filled with pride. You did well today, Clara. But remember, it's only the first step. I know, she responded, feeling the weight of the journey ahead. But the idea of failing. Mr. Finch interrupted gently, true failure isn't trying. You're already here, making an impact. His words settled in her mind, a beacon of hope lighting up her anxiety. They stood side by side, watching as some townsfolk lingered to celebrate, while others faded back into the comforts of their homes. Clara felt a sense of determination swell inside her. Starting tomorrow, she'd begin planning, sketching, and dreaming. There was new life in her heart, and she wouldn't let it die. That evening, Clara sprawled on her small kitchen table, surrounded by sketchbooks, pencils, and bright paint pots. The sun slowly dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow. Ideas raced through her mind, but they were tangled and raw. She had visions of murals depicting the town's founding, its struggles, its triumphs, each brush stroke a story longing to be told. As the first day of her new beginning approached, sleep eluded her. What if the stories she wanted to share didn't resonate? What if she painted a mural no one wanted to see? Her heart thudded in her chest, the doubts whispering louder than the excitement. Suddenly, she remembered the way the crowd had cheered for her, the admiration in little Lucy's eyes. Creating those murals could lead to something beautiful, something they could share together. It was more than just colors, it would be a tapestry of their lives, woven from many threads. In the shadows of her dimly lit home, Clara fell into a restless sleep, tossing and turning through dreams filled with swirling colors and fading voices. When she finally awoke, the sunlight streamed through the window, igniting a spark of resolve within her. Today was the day, today, she would take her first real step. But even as she dressed, a small nagging doubt lingered. No matter how hard she tried to shake it off, it stayed. What if the community's trust in her quickly vanished? As Clara stepped onto the streets of Creekwood, the world bustled around her. Each passing moment felt like a heartbeat, a reminder of the community she was ready to embrace. She took a deep breath, feeling the air flood her lungs, a mix of anxiety and excitement swirling inside her. The first mural would be painted in the town square, where everyone could see. And as she walked to her chosen wall, determination blended with fear. What if everything went wrong? Deep down, a flicker of hope ignited as Lucy hurried to catch up with her. The little girl skidded to a stop beside Clara, her face bright and eager. "I'm ready to help, Clara. Let us make it amazing." Clara turned to the child, her heart swelling with reassurance. "Together," she said, knowing that perhaps together they could discover just how beautiful the world could be. But as they approached the wall, Clara's mind swirled with uncertainty. Could she actually craft a mural that brought people together? That became more than paint on a wall. With Lucy by her side and the expectations of the town heavy on her heart, Clara shuddered at the thought. Would her dreams fly high or crash with her doubts? Today would set the tone, and the journey beneath the weight of everyone's faith was about to truly begin. What if everything she hoped for became as daunting as the blank wall looming before them? Clara stood before the wall, the sun warming her skin, mingling with the cool shadows that wrapped around her like a cloak of uncertainty. It was a plain stretch of gray concrete, large and intimidating, but it was more than just a wall, it was a canvas waiting for her dreams. She looked down at Lucy, who was bouncing on the balls of her feet, excitement radiating from her bright smile. "Okay, Lucy, let us get started," Clara said, masking her own fears with a smile. She pulled out the first can of paint, its bright blue beckoning like the endless sky above. The color reminded her of the carefree days of childhood, days filled with laughter and unfiltered creativity. She dipped the brush into the can, feeling the cool paint against the bristles. "What are we going to paint first?" Lucy chirped, her eyes dancing with anticipation. Clara took a moment to collect her thoughts. "Let us start with a big sun," she suggested, drawing a rough outline in the air with her brush. "A sun to shine on everyone in Creekwood." "Yeah. And it can be the happiest sun ever," Lucy exclaimed, clapping her hands. They began to paint, the brush strokes forming bright yellow rays that seemed to leap off the wall. With each flick of her wrist, Clara felt the weight of her doubts ease just a little. As she painted, the colors began to breathe life into the wall. The mural started to take shape, each stroke an expression of her hopes, each color a testament to the bond she was forming with the townsfolk. But she couldn't shake the shadow lurking at the back of her mind. What if the townspeople didn't like it? A distinct fear crept in as memories of her past surfaced. The times she felt shunned instead of celebrated, moments when her art had been dismissed or ignored. "Clara." Lucy's voice broke through her spiral of thoughts. "Look. It's so pretty. I can't wait to see the whole thing." Clara turned to see what Lucy was pointing at, a patch of color that sparkled in the morning light. The sight of it kindled warmth in her heart. "You're right, Lucy. It is beautiful." She dipped her brush again, This time using a brighter shade for the sun's core. As they painted, Clara noticed others starting to gather. She caught glimpses of familiar faces from the gathering the day before, curiosity pulling them from their routines. It stirred something deep within her, a blend of excitement and trepidation. Would they embrace her vision? A voice calling her name snapped her back. Clara turned to see Mr. Finch standing nearby, his expression a mix of pride and concern. "You've chosen a bold start, Clara," he said, nodding towards the wall. "But make sure it reflects the heart of this town, not just your own." His words were heavy, the weight of expectation palpable. Clara felt the pressure building again. What if she couldn't capture the essence of Creekwood? She forced herself to focus. The mural wasn't just hers, it belonged to the community. Could it really unite them? As she continued painting, Clara's heart raced. She noticed people drifting closer, their faces mixed with skepticism and intrigue. Would they see it as she did? "Let us add some flowers next," Lucy suggested, tugging Clara's arm. "Pretty ones, like the ones in my garden." The idea grounded Clara. Yes. Beautiful flowers for everyone to enjoy. They'll represent our growth together. Together, they mixed colors, each hue vibrant and alive. The flowers slowly blossomed on the wall, sprawling outward like promises of new beginnings. As they worked, Clara caught snippets of conversation from onlookers, the murmurs filled with worry but also hints of hope. What if it's too bright? Will it really bring people together? Just as fear began to claw its way back, a hand gently rested on Clara's shoulder. She turned to find Mrs. Harper, the esteemed elder of Creekwood, her wrinkled face adorned with a warm smile. "Dear, what you're doing is brave," she said softly. "All true art comes from a place of vulnerability." Clara's breath hitched, the kindness in Mrs. Harper's words washing over her. Maybe this was her moment, perhaps vulnerability was the bridge she needed to connect with the community. The sun overhead continued its journey across the sky, illuminating their work and casting a glow on their faces. In that moment, standing side by side with Lucy, Clara finally felt a glimmer of confidence emerge. With every stroke of the brush, she wasn't just painting, she was revealing herself, her truth intertwining with the fabric of the town. But as the mural began to take shape, doubt still flickered at the edges of her mind. Would it be enough? Would anyone see the love and hope woven into every color? And then she spotted a group pushing through the crowd. Some familiar faces were glancing at the mural with surprise. Clara locked eyes with them. A thought struck her like lightning: what if the mural changed everything for them? As the afternoon wore on and the sky turned a soft pink, Clara realized that this was merely the beginning. She was ready to expose herself to the world, but was her heart prepared for what might come next? What if this mural became the very pulse of Creekwood? Would it blossom into something transformative, or would it crumble under the weight of expectations? Clara's brush found its rhythm, her heart beating steadily in time with each stroke. The sunflowers began to take form under her careful hand. She remembered how her grandmother used to tell her that sunflowers turned to face the sun, following it across the sky. That thought ignited something deep within Clara. She, too, was searching for warmth, for acceptance. "Look at how they're blooming, Clara," Lucy squealed, her excitement bubbling over as she pointed at the vibrant petals taking shape. "They're so happy." Clara glanced up and saw the wonder on Lucy's face mirrored in the eyes of a few adults who approached. Murmurs of curiosity and admiration floated through the air. Clara's apprehension began to fade as she felt the energy shift. People were drawn and the initial skepticism was giving way to something else entirely. "Can we add butterflies?" Lucy asked, giggling as if the thought was completely magical. "Of course," Clara replied, inspired by Lucy's enthusiasm. "Let South fill this place with life. Butterflies and birds." As they painted together, the colors began to blend harmoniously. Clara would occasionally look up, catching snippets of conversations, laughter mixing with the sounds of the brushes on the wall. A couple of teenagers looked on, sharing laughs as they posed dramatically beside the unfinished mural. Clara felt her breath catch. This was what community felt like: vibrant, connected, alive. "I can't believe you're doing this, Clara," Mr. Finch said again, moving closer, a hesitant smile on his face. "You're really capturing something here." "Thank you, Mr. Finch. I just want it to resonate with everyone," Clara replied, her confidence beginning to swell as she poured more color into the joy of creation. The shadows of doubt lingered, but they slowly faded with each passing moment. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, Clara noticed Mrs. Harper speaking with a small group of older women. Clara couldn't hear their conversation, but the way they leaned in close and nodded made Clara's heart flutter. Was Mrs. Harper rallying support for her? "Look, Clara. The butterflies are so pretty," Lucy exclaimed, pulling her back to the mural. "And this one can land on the sun." Clara chuckled softly, surprised at how quickly Lucy had absorbed the process, already envisioning new elements to add. With every color they splashed on the wall, Clara felt like they were painting more than just a mural. It was a tapestry of their hopes, weaving together the stories of everyone, watching each person a thread. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light across their work, Clara wiped her brow and stepped back. The wall felt electric. The characters she painted were not only hers, they belonged to everyone who was coming to share a moment of their lives. Her heart raced, feeling both fragile and strong, but when Clara's gaze landed back on the faces of some of the onlookers, a pang of anxiety struck. Would it truly bond them as intended? What if once the final brushstroke was made, the thrill of creation faded, replaced by doubts or misunderstandings? Then Clara spotted a young mother with her daughter, both looking intently at the mural. The little girl, perhaps no older than Lucy, suddenly pointed at a flower and shouted, "Mommy! Look! That one is just like the one in our garden." Clara's heart soared at the realization. This mural was beginning to morph into something tangible, a shared experience, a bridge between past wounds and the promise of connection. "Can you believe it, Lucy? They're feeling it just like us," Clara exclaimed, her voice filled with excitement. "Keep going. More flowers. More butterflies." Lucy jumped with zeal, their laughter intertwined with the gentle rustle of paint cans, echoing the heartbeat of a community yearning for warmth. As the last hues of daylight settled like a soft blanket, Clara squeezed Lucy's hand tightly, her resolve solid. But just as she turned to add the final brushstroke, a heavy silence descended. A woman from the back of the crowd, someone Clara didn't know, stepped forward. Her expression was a mixture of disbelief and awe, and she gazed intently at Clara. What are you trying to say with all this?" she asked quietly, her brows knitted. The question hung in the air, the whispered anxieties of the crowd coiling around Clara's heart. Finding her voice amidst the apprehension, Clara took a deep breath, ready to embrace the moment. "I want to show that together, we can make something beautiful and meaningful, something to remind us that we belong to each other." Would her answer resonate with the woman? Would those gathered feel connected, or would doubt seep in once again? Clara stood poised, brushes in hand, uncertain and hopeful, ready to face the next wave of emotions rushing in. What would they say next? And would courage be enough to wash away the uncertainty? The woman continued to stare at Clara, her lips pressed together in thought. The silence wrapped around the crowd like a thick fog, the air heavy with anticipation. Clara felt the nervous thud of her heart against her ribcage. She could almost hear it echoing, the question pulsing through her mind: did she really believe what she had just said? In that moment, time stretched out, and she searched the faces of those gathered. Each person held a story, a past that had led them here. A small cluster near the front nodded, their eyes reflecting a shared longing. Just then, the woman broke the stillness. "I had lost hope that things could change," she said, her voice barely above a whisper but cutting through the tension. "This town has felt so divided." Clara's breath hitched. She had felt that divide too, but how could she heal the rifts when everything seemed so big? "It's hard to see beyond the walls we've built," Clara responded, her voice steadier now. But every little action counts, doesn't it? Just like this mural. It's about finding our common ground, our shared beauty. The woman's expression softened, and for a moment, Clara caught a glimpse of hope in her eyes. You're right. We need reminders. With that, the tension began to break. The murmuring returned, a gentle wave washing over the crowd. Clara noticed Lucy bouncing on her toes, urging for more actions, more colors, more life. Look! The sun is setting. We have to finish before it's too dark. Laughter erupted amongst the crowd, a sound so light it lifted the weight in Clara's heart. People instinctively moved closer to the mural, drawn in, fingers flicking paint as they joined in the creation. Clara felt the warmth of their energy wrap around her like a hug, but amidst the joy, a fleeting shadow flitted across the common ground they were building. Clara caught a glimpse of a man at the edge of the crowd, arms crossed, looking skeptical. Shadows clung to his face, and Clara felt a pang of concern. Was he resistant to this change? Let us paint this together. Lucy called out, pulling a few hesitant onlookers to dip brushes into vibrant colors. Clara watched as their fear melted, faces softening with smiles, laughter rising anew. The man, however, remained steadfast. Did he not see the beauty unfolding? As the mural grew, every addition became a part of the collective story, a heartbeat of the community. Children giggled while adults exchanged hopeful glances. Clara caught a glimpse of Mrs. Harper, still sharing words of encouragement. It felt like the mural was giving them a voice, but Clara's thoughts kept drifting back to the man on the periphery. What would it take to make him feel included? She wanted this creation to be a shared sanctuary, not just for the easily moved but for every soul yearning for connection. Can you help us too? Clara called out to him, her voice ringing with genuine hope. His head snapped up, surprise lacing his features. It can't really change anything, he replied coolly, yet Clara could see a flicker of uncertainty hiding behind bravado. Maybe it starts here, Clara said, stepping off her ladder, paintbrush poised in invitation. The crowd hushed again, all eyes on him. Would he take a step forward? Would Clara's words spark something, or would they evaporate into the evening air? Tension thickened around them, the vibrant colors of the mural suddenly seemed to dim in anticipation. Would her willingness to reach out be enough to invite connection? As the moment hung precariously, Clara could feel the electricity between them, every heartbeat a question, every brushstroke a plea. What would happen next? Would their community emerge stronger, or would old wounds surface just when hope seemed the brightest? The mural awaited its next chapter, and so did Clara. Clara stared at the man, heart pounding. She could feel the weight of the crowd's gaze hitching on an unsteady thread between them. The air felt charged, heavy with unspoken questions. His frown deepened as he shifted from one foot to the other. Why should I help? He grumbled, but Clara could see the curiosity sparking beneath his hardened exterior. Because this is about all of us, she replied, stepping closer, willing him to see the truth in her eyes. Each stroke we make together can transform the past into something beautiful. You don't have to believe everything will change in an instant, but this moment it can be our beginning. The man hesitated, glancing around as if searching for an ally in the crowd. Clara's heart sank a little as she sensed the familiar sting of doubt creeping back. What if he chose to retreat? Just then, Lucy's energetic voice broke through the thick tension. Come on. We need your strong arms. Clara couldn't help but smile. Lucy's boldness had the power to melt even the thickest barricades. The man's mouth twitched as if he was trying to hold back a smile of his own. Clara took a deep breath, deciding to embrace this moment fully, to invite everything she wished for the future. Join us. She insisted, gesturing to the paints. Help us create something that represents every person in Cedar Grove, even the ones who are cautious. Suddenly, that flicker of curiosity in his eyes ignited into something greater. Slowly, he straightened up, uncrossing his arms. All right, he mumbled, taking a tentative step toward her. Clara felt a rush of relief and triumph. The crowd erupted in cheers. With the man's hesitant participation, others cautiously stepped forward as well, brushes dipping into vibrant colors and bringing the mural to life in a whirl of excitement. Clara couldn't help but feel the ties of unity pulling them closer. As Clara added flowers in a swirl of reds, pinks, and oranges, she caught sight of Mr. Finch beaming with pride. It felt like the weight in her chest lifted just a bit more. Each brush stroke she made was filled with purpose, love, and the promise of connection, the very essence that had been sewn into their town's fabric for so long. "See," Clara said, pointing at the glorious sunflowers that now glimmered against the wall. "Together, we create hope. This is not just my mural, it's our mural." With each word, Clara began to feel the tension dissolve, swallowed by laughter, the sound of brushes against the wall, and the shared joy of creation. Some of the townsfolk who had been skeptical softening their expressions, beginning to see the beauty arising from each brushstroke. Even the man who had initially resisted began to hum an old tune, a warmth spreading through him that Clara recognized as transformation. Clara glanced down at Lucy, whose eyes were shining brighter than the colors surrounding them. "This is amazing," she squealed, twirling as they painted in radiant greens and blues. In that moment, Clara felt the unity enveloping her, like a soothing balm. They were building something together, something that reflected heart and spirit. A young girl nearby gasped, pointing eagerly at the butterflies coming alive on the painted flowers. Like sunlight breaking through a storm, Clara felt hope blossom within her heart. "What happens now?" the man asked, stepping back to survey the mural as it finally came together, an expression of community, of connection, of acceptance. Clara knew this was only the beginning. "Now," she began, emotion swelling, "we celebrate. This mural is our symbol that love conquers all doubts. This isn't just paint on a wall, it's the connections we forge, recognition of our flaws and differences, becoming something more." The gathering echoed her sentiment, voices merging in unison. Clara felt tears prick her eyes, tears of joy, of relief. The crowd turned lively, adorned with vibrant colors reflecting their spirits. As the sun sunk low in the sky, a rush of laughter filled the square, and Clara joined in, feeling an enveloping warmth in her heart that banished the doubts of the past. This was her community now, her family, each painting a reflection of their journey toward understanding and acceptance. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Lucy and her neighbors, Clara realized that perhaps she hadn't just transformed the wall, it was they who had transformed her. "We did it!" Clara shouted in exultation as she raised her paint-splattered hands high into the air, laughter spilling forth like music. And as the last brush strokes dried under the dimming light, Clara made a silent promise to carry this newfound light within her heart forever. She had found her place in Cedar Grove, and the community had found its artist, a tapestry of hope painted with love and resilience. Clara squeezed Lucy's hand, overwhelmed with gratitude. The world felt alive as if every color painted on that wall was a pulse in the beating heart of Cedar Grove. "This is just the beginning, my dear friends," she whispered, tears trickling down her cheeks but this time filled with joy. Celebration engulfed the town that day, painting a new chapter in their story, a celebration of connection cemented by courage and an unwavering spirit. Moments later, as the first stars twinkled in the night sky, Clara knew that nothing could dim the flame of that joyful transformation. "Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will touch your heart. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm so we can share more incredible tales of love, courage, and transformation. Comment below and let us know your feelings and reactions to this uplifting ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Spread the love and inspire those around you.